All right, welcome back to the channel. So, in a very good interview that took place on Fight Hype, Yordenis Ugas calls out Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is the WBO welterweight champion of the world and the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world on this channel. Ugas says that he can beat him again, because that would mean that he already beat him once, which he did. Let's talk about Yordenis Ugas and Terence Crawford in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Terence, but before I do that though, I want to thank you to everybody that is subscribed. Thank you to everybody that supports the channel in the live streams, through the super chats and the cash apps, and everybody that supports on Patreon. You guys' ongoing support in the channel is what makes it continue to go. Thank you so very much. Let's get into Terence Crawford and Yordenis Ugas. Terence Crawford is the WBO 147-pound champion. In my book, he is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world and the #2 welterweight in the world behind Errol Spence Jr. Yordenis Ugas is a title contender, an excellent title contender out of Cuba. He has wins over Ray Robinson. He's fought Ray Robinson. He has also fought Shawn Porter. He just got done. I think in his last fight, he might have been a absolute destruction of Omar Figueroa. But he's an excellent fighter. And he's saying, and I believe one of the boogeymen in the 147-pound division. And he's saying that he wants to fight. He was asked who he wants to fight, and he says he wants to fight Terence Crawford. And for many reasons, this guy. And I keep having to make these videos about people that could fight Terence Crawford. And Bob Arum says this and that about the matchups. Terence Crawford says this, that, and the other thing about the matchup. But this Yordenis Ugas one, come on, man, this one would fit. This one would fit. So let's talk about it. Terence Crawford is the #1 pound-for-pound guy in the world, but yet and still, he's having a very difficult time fighting quality opposition at 147 pounds. That is why I have him at my #2 position, in the welterweight division. And he's trying to get a fight with Errol Spence Jr. So I'm pushing as hard as I can, and a lot of other people that talk boxing, for what we can do. We know it don't go to, you'll hear what we got to say, but at the end of the day, they make the decisions about who they want to fight. But a lot of people, before I get into detail about that, I want to be really clear about something. People ask me consistently, and I have to assume they don't watch the videos, but I'm going to make a little explanation here as clear as I can, as concise as I can. I have Terence Crawford, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, because of his abilities when you match them up to the scoring criteria in boxing. I'm not one of these guys that are going to do a pound-for-pound list based on what I think about your relative level of competition, even though that is obviously, to be able to see some of the skills and judge them, they have to have fought top-notch, good top-notch guys. But that's my scoring criteria. So when I look at defense, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and clean, effective punching, I think that Terence Crawford has the best balance of all of those things. And he's done that over multiple weight divisions. So that's why I have him there. Why do I have him at the #2 welterweight? Because when you're talking about who the #1 welterweight is, you got to talk about what's happened at the welterweight division. So all I have to judge Terence Crawford on is fights with Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez, Amir Khan, and Ugas Calvinakis, because those are the 4 fights that he's had at the welterweight division, and those don't really stack up against the other welterweights. Now, welterweights, the top welterweight is something that is an actual thing, right? It's not hypothetical. It's factual. These guys can fight each other. They're in the same weight class. Pound for pound, that's hypothetical. You're judging guys that will never fight each other and are in widely separated weight classes. So that's why I have Terence Crawford as #1 pound for pound, number two welterweight. But he can do some things to change that. And I'm hoping that he does. And one of the main reasons why I'm hoping that he does it is so that other people in the pound for pound conversation can understand what he is, because some people have different sets of criteria, or they basically just, looking for a reason, at least ESPN. I think they're just looking for a way to promote their fighters and aren't really genuinely interested in the conversation itself. More just about, who are we trying to pitch? Who do we want to give an extra boost to? That type of thing. But so regardless, still keep pushing forward and trying to get people to recognize the guy as such. In a fight with like a Shawn Porter or a Danny Garcia or a Ugas or somebody like that would be somebody that would help that argument. That I think an argument that I don't think needs to be made, right? Because I think he's already there. But by becoming the top guy at welterweight in the welterweight division and beating the best fighters there, that can happen. So that's why I think it's important that Yordenis Ugas is asking to fight him, because of all the objections that Terence Crawford has had around fighting certain people, or Bob Arum has had about Terence Crawford fighting certain people, or the PBC has had with Terence Crawford fighting certain guys in the PBC. Then with Yordenis Ugas, all that stuff goes away. Just leaves, because let's look at the reasons that they give. First of all, you say from the PBC side, they say, hey, we would like to have Errol Spence Jr. fight Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford doesn't have big enough a name, or he hasn't sold enough tickets. His pay-per-views haven't done well enough for us to believe that there's enough money in the fight where Terence is going to get paid what Terence wants to get paid, and Errol will get paid what Errol wants to get paid, and the networks that work together will both get enough to get paid. So that's a reason why the PBC, and that's been said by Leonard Ellerby, that's been said by Derek James, the trainer of Terence Crawford, and it's actually even been said by Terence Crawford himself. Those are reasons why that fight could be held up. Then you have Shawn Porter. Bob Arum says, the PBC says, yeah, that's a go. So Shawn Porter from the PBC side versus Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter's free to go over to ESPN and fight Terence Crawford. If Shawn Porter wants it, Terence Crawford wants it, and ESPN wants it, or Top Rank wants it. And Top Rank is saying we don't want it, because who's going to pay him? That's what they say about Terence. Yeah, that's a really good fight, but who in the world is going to pay for it? There's not enough money to, Shawn Porter's going to want too much money, to fight Terence Crawford. He said the same thing. Bob Arum said the same thing about Mikey Garcia, that they're going to want too much money to fight Terence Crawford, so they can't make that fight. Well, that wouldn't be the case with Yordenis Ugas. Yordenis Ugas is not some big money dude. He's not making multi-millions of dollars a fight. He's a contender that fought very well against Shawn Porter, didn't get the decision against Shawn Porter, right? But he had to go fight Omar Figueroa. Now, I don't have the purses in front of me, but I doubt very much that Yordenis Ugas got $3 million to fight Javier Fortuna. Man, I hope I didn't say Javier Fortuna. What's the cat's name? Omar Figueroa. Fortuna Figueroa. That's why I messed it up. Yeah, to fight. I doubt very much that Yordenis Ugas got that much money to fight him, Omar Figueroa. So it seems like then that would be a good matchup, right? Because now you have a guy that is a legitimate top welterweight in the eyes of many people. He's somebody that's not tremendously expensive. And it's somebody that should give that there's a story behind it. And the story behind it is that Yordenis Ugas already beat Terence Crawford in the amateurs. My understanding from the interview said it was like 26 to 10 he beat Terence Crawford. So if he beat him that bad in the amateurs, clearly these guys are closely enough. At the time, they were close enough on the boxing level to make the fight. And Yordenis Ugas is a big, strong welterweight. He's definitely on a winning streak. Let's make the fight. Now, and again, there's no reason whatsoever not to make it based on any of the other reasons that were given, except for this one, where Terence Crawford says he doesn't want to fight somebody. He wants to fight for a belt. He wants to fight a champion. But you can't say that if you're not going to fight a champion and you fight with your next fight, okay? Because the other champions are not available. There's talk about Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao, but that more than likely is blah blah blah. And we just reviewed the situation with Errol Spence. So it's the best thing in my opinion is Terence Crawford versus Shawn Porter. I would love, but if you can't get that fight, man, Ugas, a lot of people think Ugas beat Shawn Porter. So, hey, man, maybe this will give you that type of recognition. But at the very least, what it'll do is give me a chance to see a Terence Crawford in a fight that I might get a little bit nervous for. The rest of the fights, and I think this is why his numbers don't do particularly well and why his pay-per-views don't do particularly well, because you're going into a fight and there's nobody's wondering whatsoever what's going to happen in the fight. It's just going to be, Terence is going to beat him. He's going to, feel him out in the first couple rounds, loosen up in the middle of the fight by the time, start dominating him in the middle of the fight. By the time it gets to round 10, he's going to switch to he's going to switch back to orthodox, start walking down and beating him up, rinse and repeat, get somebody in there that might throw a different wrinkle into it, But anyway, it is what it is. That's my take on it. I certainly hope to see this fight. Thank you again for everybody that supports the channel and the Patreon and the super chats, and as a channel member. And with that, we're out. Peace.